It's not even been a full week since Donald Trump's election, but we're starting to get some idea of what he plans to do once he gets into the White House. On immigration, for example, early in the campaign, Trump threatened to deport all of the estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. Last night, speaking to CBS 60 Minutes, he narrowed that down.
What we are going to do is get the people that are criminal and have criminal records, gang members, drug dealers. We have a lot of these people, probably 2 million, it could even be 3 million. We're getting them out of our country or we're going to incarcerate. But we're getting them out of our country. They're here illegally.
We should note here that right now under President Obama, undocumented immigrants with a criminal record are already subject to incarceration or deportation. We're going to start today with reaction to President-elect Trump's immigration plans. Pablo Alvarado is head of the National Day Laborer Organizing Network. He joins us from Los Angeles. What's been the reaction among your members, Pablo? I'm assuming you have many members who are undocumented.
The majority of our members don't have documents, and a significant number of them are legal permanent residents or U.S. citizens as well. The wave of fear that the president-elect's announcement has created can be felt throughout. It's not just the undocumented community. So there is uncertainty, there is fear, but there is also resignation and willingness to fight back. The reality is that for a day laborer, the day starts the same. Before Trump won, it's essentially the same. People have to go every day to street corners to seek an honest day of work, regardless, of what Trump does or doesn't. People have to feed their loved ones. So day laborers every day defy any obstacle you can think of. The rain, they defy the sun, they defy unscrupulous employers who oftentimes fail to pay their wages. They defy white supremacist organizations that come and harass them to the day labor corners. And they face a myriad of uncertainties every day. They don't know if they're going to get hired or not. They don't know if they're going to have an injury at the workplace and if they're going to receive proper medical care. So the life of a day laborer is, an ocean of uncertainties.
So one more fear on top of a myriad of other fears.
Correct.
For an undocumented day laborer who is not a felon, does that provide any consolation? Because Donald Trump's comments seem to focus on people with criminal records.
No, it doesn't, because the concept of who is a criminal can be easily changed. At a given moment, standing on a sidewalk to solicit employment was a crime. And as a consequence, people like day laborers could be easily criminalized and deported. Plus, most undocumented people live in mixed households. So you have all kinds of people in one's extended family. So nobody is safe in this case.
Would you say that there is more fear now than in past episodes where raids and deportation have been, on the horizon?
Absolutely. There's more fear now. The threat is much bigger. Remember that handful of xenophobes and nativists are essentially controlling not just the White House, they're controlling Congress, and now they're going to have a shot at controlling the Supreme Court. This is essentially the nativists taking over everything. Of course, there is widespread fear, but there is also, there will be widespread resistance to whatever they do. If they think that we're going to go quietly into the night without putting up a fight, they're essentially wrong. We will fight in every setting possible, always as we have done it, in a peaceful and orderly manner.
Pablo Alvarado, head of the National Day Laborer Organizing Network, speaking with us from Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are also questions about how quickly President-elect Trump could implement changes to U.S. immigration policy. After all, he, like any president, must work within the limits prescribed by existing law. We reached out to Daniel Kanstrom to talk about this. He's a law professor here in Boston College. I mean, due process, being heard before a judge, aren't these protections that even the president can't take away no matter what?
Well, yes, that's true. But in some cases, the opportunity to speak to a judge can be of little meaning if you don't have a substantive claim to stay in this country. And part of the difficulty is that the immigration laws of the United States are quite harsh. Actually, if you compare them to laws that are in place in Europe, the recognition of the importance of family unity, for example, is much less strong in the United States than it is there. So many of these people may have the right to say something, but then it's not clear what they could say that would actually count as a defense.
I mean, there's already a backlog on deportation hearings. Won't that just increase as soon as Donald Trump is president?
Yes, the backlog is actually a very serious problem. I suppose, in theory, if he wanted to devote unlimited resources to deporting people, he could do that, although I think he would need congressional authorization once he started spending that sort of money. Some of the estimates I heard, and this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, were up in the hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, when people had tried to sort of cost this out, what would it look like if you did create a deportation strike force and start to go after the undocumented population? And it's not a trivial problem to also mention that the effect on the rights of U.S. citizens in such a regime would be very, very problematic. I mean, non-citizens are part of our community. They are married to U.S. citizens. They have U.S. citizen parents, children. How do you untangle that? What sort of police department, what sort of deportation force could do that without also trampling on the rights of U.S. citizens?
So what can Donald Trump do by executive order on the 20th of January that most concerns you? Like, he takes the oath of office, goes into the Capitol building rotunda. What can he do on day one?
Well, he can repeal some of the initiatives that President Obama did, the DACA and so-called DAPA programs.
DACA, that's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and DAPA is the Deferred Action for Parents of Americans, those two Obama programs.
Those could be repealed because they were executive orders to begin with. And I think that's a cause for great, great anxiety among many people. I mean, the numbers are a little hard to assess, but we know that there were hundreds of thousands of people who had applied for these programs and who had felt a certain safety and a certain kind of possibility of moving forward with their lives. And now they face the prospect of that all being snatched away from them. So he could do that. What he could not do is change the fundamental deportation laws of this country, and he can certainly not repeal the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and other constitutional protections.
I mean, Obama has earned the nickname Deporter-in-Chief, even though he was the originator of DAPA and DACA. What is the chance, you think, that in the end, Trump's immigration policies might not look all that different from Obama's?
Well, I think they're going to look different. I think it's going to look much harsher, much more vigorous, but I don't think it's going to be that dramatic a change because, as you say, the deportation mechanism has been humming along during the Obama administration already. But there could definitely be an uptick in the harshness of the enforcement and the vigor of the enforcement.
Boston College law professor Daniel Kanstrom, his most recent book is called Aftermath, Deportation Law and the New American Diaspora. Thank you very much.